it's Allison Circle again here at Columbus Metropolitan Library, where I have the honor of being the Chief Customer Experience Officer. And once again, I brought a great expert for you because today we're going to talk about the importance of displays in delivering on the customer experience. So Ann Jubera is a manager here at Columbus Metropolitan Library, where she also is on our visual merchandising team. I got that right?
Yes, yes.
And so I asked Ann to come and talk about what are some of the guiding principles and why it matters so much to have really great displays. So Ann, let's start by talking about what you would say are some of our guiding principles.
So a great display should be something that's eye-catching and attractive. It should feature pristine books, ones that customers would immediately want to check out. It should also use things like a rule of 3. It should use color blocking, some of the tricks you might find in a retail environment. It should be full, but it should be neat and uncluttered.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is why do we, everybody knows it's a library, right? So of course you got displays, and I'm sure everybody thinks it's important to have displays. They get that, but why have you invested so much effort and so much protocol around developing a good display?
So while our collections are browsable in the stacks, a lot of them are spine out, sort of hidden away. So what we want to do is bring the collection out, meet it where people are, so they can see what we have to offer. When you go into any store, you'll see displays all over, and we want to do the same sort of thing in our library spaces. We want to create those moments of delight and discovery. We want people to experience things or discover things they never knew we had, so that they'll return and have a good experience when they do.
And it's as much as how it looks as opposed, I think people think that customer experience has to be, well, I'm talking to you or something like that, but it's really the environment you create.
Yes.
And you've done such a great job in making these displays more than just face out, for example, but there's variability in height and dimension, and that really makes it much more compelling.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing that we were talking about before is about if it doesn't move,
it's not a good display.
It's not a good display. And so how do you manage that? How have you and your team created consistency across all of our 23 branches?
So one thing we've done is made the guidelines easy to understand. So that provides clarity to our staff, so that's easy to implement the guidelines. We've also created a visual merchandising handbook that has examples of what a good display should look like. We also have buy-in from staff and from managers, so there's this element at each branch that this is an important part of the work that they do.
Well, and the good tip for y'all is that we are going to include a link on our website here of that guidebook itself. And also you've done training, you've gone out and done training to other libraries as well.
Yes.
So as people are thinking about displays, what would you give as a word of advice about how to get buy-in to doing it a little bit differently and actually a little more aggressively than perhaps some might have in the past?
I think have staff think about how they feel in stores. Try to think like a consumer. Think about the outside-in sort of approach to it. Also, creating some sort of documentation or training manuals is helpful. I would also say, too, just hands-on training, kind of talking about what works in a branch, and then also thinking about outcomes. A display, again, is only good if people are checking it out. So really thinking about that's the goal of the display.
Two last things just to cycle around with, and it's something I mentioned in an earlier video, which is this idea of the paradox of choice, which is don't give me too many things because too many things become nothing. So how do you do that in terms of a display?
So we want to curate the best of our collection for displays. So this is an opportunity for us to really show what's just beautiful parts of our collection. Too much choice is overwhelming, so we want to make sure that there is some variety and some interest, but not so much that it overwhelms customers.
And the other term you use that we have used a lot, which is that idea of outside in, which is we tend to look at things through our own lens instead of the lens of a customer. How does that relate to your whole display guidelines and how you do your displays?
Almost all of our display guidelines are rooted in retail strategies, so we really want staff to think like a consumer. When they walk in a building, how do they feel? And that these aren't just sort of things we came up with out of nowhere, these actually have a basis and work in the real world.
Great. Well, we'll put those on our website, as I said.
Yes.
And always we have links to our staff as well if you have questions. And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You and your team do such a great job. I'm always finding things I didn't think I knew or that I needed to read, but I do it anyway. And thanks all of you for your time.